David Settle from KOWB, standing next to Laramie coach Clint Reed as we get ready for the Cheyenne Trio Week 1, even though it's like Week 4 of the season. This is the first of 3 straight games against the Cheyenne high schools. That's what I'm getting at. This is probably the biggest and longest rivalry of any of them, obviously, because it's old Laramie against old Cheyenne. It goes back to 1909, and I know that we have rivalries with East and South, but the Central one seems to be a little bit different, I guess.
It is. As you said, it's a big rivalry. We acknowledge that. We let our players know that, whether they really realize it or not, because they see 3 schools over there. They don't know the history. But anytime you go over the hill versus any 3 of the schools, it's a big deal. And these 3 weeks are extremely important to us.
So you get Cheyenne Central first up. Coming off the Natrona loss last week, what did you take away from that?
We tried to show the kids, that first few series in the game, we started executing better than we have, right out of the gun. We got a turnover and 3 downs, we were able to score. We were able to get them a 3 and out, get the ball back again, but then it's some mental mistakes again, some turnovers, some execution just started to get to us. And if we can play, and execute what we talked about and what we've game planned for the week, we know we can play with teams. It's just, can we follow through with it for 4 quarters?
Do you go back to maybe the Kelly Walsh game and say, hey, look what we did, guys. We didn't get off to a great start. We didn't necessarily execute all the way, but we hung tough enough to stay with it for 4 quarters?
Yeah, some of it we talked about. You heard me talk about weight room. You've heard me talk about the physicality of the game and things like that. But we really talked about mental toughness this week. How do we persevere? How do we adjust as the game ebbs and flows up and down? And how do we stick with our game plan and execute all the way through to the end of the game? And that was a big thing we talked about this week, was mental toughness.
Is this team hungry to try and break this 3-game losing skid?
I believe so. You never know until you show up to the field, and that first whistle and that first minute of the game dictates a lot. And so again, that's that mental toughness, because even if it doesn't go our way in that first 30 seconds or minute, how are we going to persevere and how are we going to sustain the game for us? So
Cheyenne Central is an improved team. They're ranked 5th in the wildpreps.com coaches and media rankings this week. They've had a couple good wins now. What do they look like in terms of what Coach Apodaca has going on over there?
They're slowly evolving. One, they're just getting better as a program and as a team. But they're really pass heavy right now. With number 11 back there slinging the ball around, number 2 in the state, and number 9 out there as a receiver, 87 big tight end slot. 20 at running back, so they got some good personnel, and they're really starting to click and put some things together. So yeah, they're a scary team. Every team in 4A is improving, and so it's a challenge every week.
So how does that impact your pass defense this week? Because obviously you want to try and slow them down, but not a lot of teams, to be honest, have really.
Yeah, it's one of those things you want to talk about bending a little bit but not breaking. You don't want to get that vertical ball over the top. You don't want the big plays all the time, because that's an emotional thing that gets into you. So game planning, we started to come up with all these crazy ideas and then started looking at each other like, what are we doing? Let's get back to basics like fall camp and back to KOWB. Week 1 out and get into our basic coverages, get guys running around, flying around where they need to be.
Well, it's a long-time rivalry. Hopefully you guys are fired up this week, ready to roll against the first of 3 straight games against the Cheyenne schools. Laramie at 5th-ranked Cheyenne Central. This is the only other 7 o'clock kickoff this Friday night at Risky Field in the capital city. Good luck to you. I appreciate the time as always.
Thank you, David.
Head coach Clint Reed, David Settle with you. And, of course, you can join us, Aaron Lozano and myself, on the radio broadcast. You can also listen online through the KOWB app, any Amazon Alexa-enabled device, Google Home speakers, things like that. Lots of different ways to listen to our broadcast. Coverage starts at 6 o'clock on Friday from Risky Field in Cheyenne. And again, it's a 7 o'clock kickoff, the Plainsmen at Cheyenne Central.